All right, we're live. This is Conversation Nation. We got Chano, we got Anthony, myself, Flawed Man out. We're going to cover some great topics tonight. We're talking about parents don't understand from the Fresh Prince song. Parents don't understand sometimes. We got a lot of different issues going on, a lot of different parenting styles. Chano has his own style. I have my own
We got
style.
a lot of
And
different issues going on, a lot of different
and
parenting
Anthony
styles.
has his style. Oh, I think I'm getting some delay here. Maybe.
No, it was something else in the background.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay,
it's
cool.
fine. It's good now.
Okay, awesome. So we want to cover some topics tonight, and then we also want to hear from you if you're out there. We want to hear any of your comments, any of your takes on parenting, and see what you have to say about it. Um, we have three specific topics tonight. We're going to, categories in this topic. We're going to get into laying plans for our children's future. So being active or being just present. And then we also have where we're trying new things, new parenting styles, kind of throwing out the old and bringing in some new techniques because maybe we didn't like the way it went down when we were kids. And so Anthony's going to be covering that. And then I'm going to be talking about being the parent that I needed and trying to uh, just improve on what I experienced parenting as and being, a father of two little girls. It's always different. It's everybody has a different story and a different situation, but I think we can all learn from each other, and that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to learn. So let's get into it. Shano, how you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm doing good today. I had a couple days off of work. I've been able to relax. I headed back tomorrow, and then this weekend, it's a big weekend. Well, actually, it's been a big week. My son was inducted into the National Honor Society, and then we have a meet and greet for the academic day. It's for a student to our who may be joining one of the military academies. So it's been a big week, busy week, good week.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know you were telling me about that. Saw Austin in his suit, all
That's
tailored
right.
up, looking snazzy, looking good. Good for Austin. He's doing a good job. Anthony, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a busy past couple of days, but not too bad. It's
Not
getting
too
hot.
bad. Not too crazy. Yeah, it is getting hot. It's right around the 70s here in Cali. How about you?
Ooh, I would say it's upwards in the 80s. It's hot. It stays hot here year round. So winter it doesn't matter when it's hot.
That
Okay,
humidity
Because
is
I'm
bad.
it's Georgia, so
Georgia. That's right.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first? You want me to kick it off, or you guys want to?
Uh, you know what? I'll kick it off. I'll kick it off this week. Just
Okay.
this is a subject that I kind of found. Well, first of all, I'll just introduce my subject. I want to talk about: are you an active parent or are you just present? And I think that's a tough question for a lot of people. We all like to think that we are active parents. We all like to think, oh, I'm here, so that means I'm active. That I'm here, so that means I am involved. And that's not necessarily the case. Well, I don't believe it is. Now, this isn't something I have not been, and I am not now the perfect parent, and I've not always been as active as I am today. I believe that I started becoming more active when I did free up more time, first of all. And second, when I realized that my children needed a little more nurturing in certain aspects of their life.
Mm,
When I was working a lot, when I was in the military and I'd work most of the day and long hours, I wasn't sure I'd come home. A big problem I had was I could not be a discipliner at home because I was a discipliner at work, and I didn't like that flowing over into my personal life. And so I thought at the time I was doing a service to my wife and to my children by saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be a discipliner. I'm going to be here. Let my wife do disciplining." And it went on for years, and it actually caused a big drift between my kids and my wife because they saw her as an authority figure at all times. Instead of seeing us
mm,
as a partnership.
yeah.
And after therapy, I went to therapy for many years. And I've learned that even though I thought I was doing what I thought was best, but it turned out what's best is to be more active, be a discipliner when you need to be a discipliner, be a mentor when you need to be a mentor, not being in the house. Although we all know that having two parents in the house is great. I mean, it's the best a child can ask for.
Yeah.
However, if you can do more, I would urge you to do more. And one of those is being active. And I believe I got active, I would have to say probably 3.5 years ago now, 3.5, 4 years ago. And by active, I mean, about twice a week, I have what I call whiteboard meetings. By the way, catch my channel coming soon, whiteboard meetings.
That's right.
Whiteboard meetings. And I literally, if I would take you upstairs right now, I have a whiteboard that you flip over, has double sides. And about once or twice a week, my children and I, we sit down for anywhere between an hour to 3 hours. And I will discuss with them just different parts of life, how to introduce yourself to somebody, how when you call a service and and you ask for a certain request, how to enunciate, how to talk to somebody, or how to change your tire. Just simple things that aren't going to be taught to you in life. I think we really forget. We go through life doing things that we've done for so many years that we forget we had to learn those things. We had to learn how to be the way we are. And when no one's there to teach you, it's very difficult. And you fall, you stumble. And yes, I understand that builds character. Had this discussion a while back about how, adversity is wonderful. Everyone loves a good adversity story, but not having adversity isn't a downfall in your life. You're not less of a person because you had help along the way.
Right.
And if you're in a situation where you can help your children avoid certain downfalls, certain types of adversity, then I would urge everyone to do so. But I'm sorry, I don't know. What were your thoughts so far on this? I mean, I still have more on the subject.
Yeah, so you're talking about trying to just catch things early, and try to stop them from happening, and that's what parents do, right? And we constantly are trying to keep our kids from harm, keep them from bad decisions. And what do you think about the idea of? I guess you were kind of covering that, but kind of just let them find out for themselves, because we can't be that with them for every step. I think for the big things you have to.
So I think an example of that would be my son's in JRTC, right? He's a commander in JRTC. He has been. He just got the commander role this week.
What's JRTC for the listeners?
It's junior. Oh my God! Now you're gonna get me all messed up here. Junior. What is it? Reservist officer candidate training or something. Yeah,
close enough.
Something like that. I forget the acronym. Anyways, it's basically like it's a military program inside the schools. And actually, if you're in JRTC, which is the high school version, you can get a scholarship for ROTC, which is the college version, and they pay for your college, but then you do have to go into the military afterwards. That's if they pay for your college. They don't always have to pay for your college. You can just be in the program. They teach a lot of leadership and discipline, and they push a healthy lifestyle and maintain an active lifestyle. It's a great program. So my sons aren't necessarily physically active a lot. They don't play sports. They're not outgoing like that. So when my son when he got into high school, I went to the school and I enrolled him. Well, I had a meeting with him, the principal, and everybody. And I said, hey, I want him in JRTC. He didn't want to be in JRTC. The school basically, they were like, oh, okay. The next day or about a week later, whenever we got his list of classes, it wasn't on there. So I go back to the school and I said, I want my son in JRTC. And they were like, well, he didn't really seem interested, and we don't like to place children unless they're interested. And I honestly, I probably got a little more upset than I really should. And I told him, absolutely not. I said, I'm the parent. I decide what's best for my child, and he's going to be in JRTC. That's all there is to it. Now, this is the deal. like you said, let them fall, let them learn their own. I also think it's our responsibility to push them, to urge them to go outside the comfort zone. So I told him, I made a deal with him. You have 1 semester. You have to complete 1 semester JRTC. After that, you can decide if you want to go forward with it or not. So he does JRTC, hates it. Of course, you know how much he hates it. He hates it so much he won't stop talking about it. He hates it so much it's the only thing we hear about. Okay.
Yeah.
It's so much that the following semester, when he gets his class list, it's on there. And we said, "Hey, Austin, you're doing JRC again?" And he said, "I already did 1 semester. I might as well do the next." He said, "I might as well do the rest of them."
Yeah. I like that.
Come on, you can say you like something. Kids are really say.
He doesn't want to let you know that.
Right. You know what I mean? And it's been a wonderful, wonderful program for him. It's opened so many doors for him and to where he is now. He's top of his class. Upwards of top. He's in top percentile of his class. He's applying to Georgia Tech. He's going to apply to both the Air Force Academy, West Point, Stanford. He has the GT score. I'm sorry, he has the SAT scores and the GPA to support those applications. And he's also, like I said, National Art Society. We're going this weekend for a meet and greet with the senators and everything for those schools, and because he needs recommendations for the schools. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, I pushed him in the direction I thought was best. Now, after that, he decided he didn't want to go in that direction. I would think it would be. I wouldn't think it's a good idea, but it would be his decision. So
right, yeah, I get it.
Now, so there are. I really want him to go to West Point because I know the doors are open. However, I'm obviously open to him going to a non-military academy, just because he is his life. He has to live with it. But like I've said in the past, my children know that I will support them in anything that I believe is successful. Anyways, so yeah, being an active parent for me is I talk to my kids about their school. I go to their schools. I have the meetings with the counselors. If I feel like there's an issue, I am front line with that issue. Well, when we have whiteboard meetings, it's not a one-way conversation. It is literally a two-way street in this conversation. And we have talked to everything from finances to just how I think their marriage should be. What the type of relationship I believe we should have as they grow up, the type of relationship I want to have with my children. And I want this to be as open as possible. As I've told my children before, the last thing I will ever be is laying in my bed when I'm 60 years old, wondering if I did enough as a parent. I don't have to ask myself that. I know for a fact I put in the effort, I put the time in. And Justin, one of the things I've told, because my kids for a long time, they saw these meetings as a punishment, and I never intended these meetings to be punishments. These meetings are a direct line. They are the most important thing in my life. They are the most important thing I do. And so when I talked to them, I said I wanted to really reinforce how important these meetings are to me. I heard a long time ago a saying that says, the problem with parenting is by the time if you did it right or wrong, it's over. And it's so true. So I told my children, they know my line of work. They know, Justin, they know that we go to work and there'll be some days where we're in code blue and, we're there trying to restart someone's heart and get them intubated, get them breathing, and the family's outside the door and they're crying, they're sobbing. And it's something they're going to remember for the rest of their life. And it's a very intense moment. And you're trying to bring this. And I told the kids that those are very important moments. But to me, these meetings are more important to me than those moments. And I know that sounds cruel, but you have to understand that I understand that the end of life is a process and it's part of everyone's life. But my children are going to be with me for the rest of my life. I'm going to watch them grow, I'm going to watch them nurture, and I just need them to know that I'm investing in them. Maybe not financially, but with all the time. And it's just, and it's funny because even though I spend several hours a week speaking with them individually and as a group, my kids are 10, 12, 14, it's now 17. Justin, if I tell you, and Anthony, I feel like I'm already out of time. That's how I feel like I'm already running on fumes here with them.
I know.
And I have one of them for 8 more years. And I just feel like there's not enough time to get as much information as I can into them to make sure they're starting out in life with the best foot forward.
Yeah, you're right. And it's kind of like you don't want to go into an overkill mode where you're just pouring into them to the point where it just becomes a lecture, because that's kind of what Vanessa will tell me. She'll say, "Okay, you're kind of lecturing, Dad, or like, can I talk now?" kind of thing. And I obviously we have a lot of knowledge to give because we've been around, for a while, and so I'm trying to pour into her, but yeah, she's not always receptive. And then sometimes she'll just tell me, she'll be like, "Dad, remember I'm 10." And I'll say, "Yeah, yeah, baby, I know." But I've also grown her. I feel like I have grown her up a little more than her age, just because of like understanding sarcasm, certain humor, and things like that. That like kids her age uh, don't seem to get. From what she tells me, she's like, "Dad, they don't understand our jokes," and it's because I guess they're a little more advanced, and so I try to help her with uh, getting along with kids and things like that. But as far as being an active parent, I became active when I saw my child's grades dropping. When my oldest daughter's grades started dropping, in she had math and English, but her math was just not where it was supposed to be, and I don't know if it was already slipping, but I just maybe wasn't paying attention. Looking at the report, because my kid's a stellar student, so she had a moment in school where she was just had a lack of interest, and I think it was some friends that she was around, and she just started saying things that weren't like her, like I don't really want to go to school. Do I have to go to school? Things like that. And my kid's she's a academic person. She just likes school. So this was very unlike her. And so it kind of raised some flags. And I even had a teacher call me, actually, which I appreciated very much. He called me and said, "I'm concerned with Vanessa, because, she's just shows a lack of interest, and something's changed." And so at that moment, I jumped in, and my wife as well, and we just really started working with her on math, and also looking at who was in her life, who was speaking into her life. And I think that's also an important thing to watch for, not just academics, but the influences that we allow in our child's life can be detrimental. They're very impressionable at young ages, and so you let somebody in your house, you let somebody around you, or a family friend, or you let kids of the neighborhood or kids from school. Of course, you can't control all these things, and that's where you just have to talk to your kids about, how to stand your ground, how to be an individual, and not follow the crowd. But I definitely was trying to keep her from negative attitudes that would yeah
Bless you.
there's certain kind of people in the world. There's people that are go-getters that want to do things that are positive, and they see the glass half full. And then there's people that just they are negative. They're negative minded, and they're bringing everybody down with them, always complaining about something, and nothing's ever good enough. There can never be this happy moment or this moment of contentment. It always has to be contentious. And those are the people that she was around. So we kind of put a stop to that and showed her how to deal with that. And now she has jumped 2 grade levels in her math, and she is where she's supposed to be. She's excelling. She's won different awards and things, and she's involved in lots of extracurricular activities. And I'm just really happy for her. But she responded to our activeness as parents, but we could have
That's right.
just let it slip away, and could have not made a big deal about it or investigated it enough.
So
But we did, and we got results, and she's doing really well.
So there's something you hit on there that I want to talk about. Is you said the people around her, the people she surrounded herself with, they started influencing her, and that's very. I mean, that happens all the time. It happens to all of us. And one thing I explain to my children is that they have to understand that people they go to school with, a lot. Some people are here. They're working they're working for the hour. Some people are working just to get to recess. Other people working to get to the end of the day. Some people's goals are I just want to get to the end of. I just want to get to Saturday. And I make it very clear to my children, like you guys have a bigger goal. Okay, we want you to be happy for a lifetime. We don't want you to be happy for a day, happy for a week. I want you to be happy, which I always tell them, success is happiness. That's all I equals to. When I always use the word success, I tell them when I say success, I want you to be successful. I'm saying I want you to be happy because there's no level of success you can reach. Happy is internal. So I want them to be successful in life. And that's what I want them to work towards. So one of the conversations we had in this whiteboard meeting was saying that you can be friends with anyone you want, but don't let them distract you from your goal. Because although they may seem to be the kind of person that you want to be around, although they may seem the kind of person who's having a good time, you guys may have different destinations. That doesn't make them worse or better than you. However, don't lose sight on what you're here for. You're not here for the end of the school year. You're not here for end of the grade. You're not here for high school graduation. You're here to build a foundation for life.
Right.
And
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You have goals.
Yeah, and going back to like what we're talking about about laying plans down for my children. I have individual plans for I have 4 children, and this one thing I did learn early on: children are different. Even though I have 4 children, they are very different people. They cannot have the same plan. They cannot. I can't say, "Hey, this is the plan for our family," and everyone's going to go on this plan. And this no individually planned because they have different levels of. They learn differently. They react different. They respond different. So I'm not going to go into. It would take too long to go into the plans, but I have been judged or I've been. I don't know how to say this. Basically, people have said you can't plan out your kid's future. You're right. I can't plan out every aspect of their future, but what I can do is I can lay down a base plan that I believe that if a child has a basic plan, like they know they know about the kind of foundation they should lay in school. They know about maybe college, maybe military, maybe straight to a trade. If they have this basic plan laid out in life, whenever they feel they're falling short of a goal, or they feel they don't have a direction, they can fall back to their parents' plan for them until they build their own. And until children in the 8th grade, 7th grade don't have a life plan for themselves. So we are here to build that life plan for them. And if they deviate from that, that's perfectly fine. But there needs to be a safety net when the kids feel like they feel they get a bad grade. They need to know that bad grade is not the end of life. When they lose a friend, they need to know that friend, that friend was temporary. They need to know that everything they're going through now is happening in the moment, but there's still a greater plan for them, and they're still on that track. Okay, as long as they stay on that track, they're going to be okay. And I think as parents, we're here to lay that track down for them as a safety net where, hey, you don't always have to do everything perfect, because just like anything else in life, Rome wasn't built in a day, and like a diet, a lot of people, I'm very faulty of this myself. If I'm on a diet and you eat too much one day or you mess up on your diet, people are like, well, that's it, my diet's ruined. Well, that's because you're going based off calories off of a day. Go calories off of a week. Go calories off of a month. Just lay that. Once you open that plan up, you realize that I may have messed up, but it's this much I've messed up out of this great big old plan. It's not a big chunk of my plan that's destroyed.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point. Is the little mistakes are not to be magnified, but sometimes we do that as parents. We magnify the heck out of our kids' littlest mistakes. And I was reading something today, psychology, basically how children's frontal lobes of their brain are not fully developed until later on, maybe in their 20s, is what this was saying. And when we see our kids do something weird or crazy and we say, what were you thinking? That's often what parents say. What's wrong with you? Or what's gotten into you? And it's the dumbest thing. And you would think, like, why would you ever do that? I would never do that. But you did
Right.
that. And that's because they're 10 or they're 6. It's because they're just not fully developed. They do things that their body will allow them to do, but their brain doesn't understand the consequences of it because
Yes.
they're not fully developed yet. But so I thought that was interesting because my daughter today, I'm picking her up from school, and she says, "Daddy, look, this is my 6-year-old. She says, Daddy, I got a sucker and I got a bouncy ball from school." And I said, "Oh, that's cool." And she looked at me and went, "Boop," and stuck that ball right in her mouth, the bouncy ball. And I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Get that out of your mouth." And Vanessa was like, she's like, "Ew, you're gross. That was on the floor." And then I go into a whole lecture on my kindergartner, and I'm like, "Do you know how many germs are on that ball? Do you?" And I,
Not now.
she doesn't get it. Yeah. Oh, they're on my stomach, Daddy. So it's Osmosis Jones all over again.
Yeah,
And so
there's not one with them.
I can't. I was like, that's the grossest thing. Why would you ever do something like that? And then I remember that article I was reading, and I was like, oh, that's right. They're gonna do stupid stuff and not even think about it. And
Yeah,
they just
that's.
don't. They just don't have the consequences. And of course, she's 6. I mean, Vanessa gets it, but the other one, no, she don't get it. Not just yet. We'll give her some time, not go crazy on her. So I dialed back the lecture. I was like, I'm just gonna hold that, and you're 6. Don't take it out of your mouth. That's pretty much where we went from there.
I think we're gonna move on here in a second. So
Okay.
I'll leave off with this. Well, I'll just leave off with this story about being an active parent. I spoke with my kids about this. This is a long time ago, right? And I said, look, we have a choice because one thing we want to do as an active parent, I want to be there for the rest of their lives. Not now. I'm not my children's friend. I'm not. Okay, they'll tell you. They'll probably be the first ones to tell you that. But it's because I don't want to be a 10-year-old's friend. I do want to be in my 30-year-old son's life, in my 40-year-old son's life. That's whose life I want to be in because at that point they'll want me in their life. Okay, that I have to be invited to be that in that part of their life. Right now, I can force myself into their life. That's not what I want. And I tell my children all the time, they will decide the type of relationship we have. And it's very simple. This is how I explained to them. I said, look, what would you rather have our relationship be like? Picture this. It's 6:00 in the morning. You're headed to your first day of work. Okay. You've done everything you need to do the night before to get ready. You want to make a great impression. You're headed to work. You get a flat tire on the way. Okay. So what do? You call me. It's your choice. How you decided how our relationship is by the way we treat each other, by the way you respond to me, the way you treat me. Okay. I'm going to see that phone ring. I'm going to pick it up. And I'm either going to say, I can't deal with this early. I'm not ready to fight. I'm not ready to hear this. I don't know what's under the line because it's so voluntary. Our conversations are so aggressive. I'm not dealing with this early. And I don't answer the phone. You're stuck on the side of the road. You're late for work. You make a terrible impression, and you go on through your day. And now you're mad I didn't answer the phone. Your boss has a bad outlook on you. You're starting out on the downside. Okay. That's one way our relationship could be. Or you call me at 6 a.m. I see my phone. I pick it. I answer immediately. It doesn't matter what time because you're my kid. We have a great relationship, and I answer my phone. And you tell me the problem. I rush over to your side. I give you my car keys. I take your car, and I deal with it. You go to work. You have a wonderful first day, and when you get off of work, your car is waiting for you repaired. Okay, I tell my kids, it's your choice on what type of relationship you want to have with me because as we get older, you would decide how much I am in your life. You would decide how much I'm in your children's life. You would decide if I'm invited over for dinner or not. I want to be all those things. Okay, yeah. But by your attitude, by the way we treat each other, it will determine what kind of relationship we have as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so I tell the children all the time, like you just decide what kind of relationship you want with your parents. because I'm here either way. I'm good with either relationship. I obviously prefer to be there as much as possible for them, but I'm also not going to go back into a relationship where I'm constantly demoralized or shove aside, or you know what I mean? Like why would anyone want to be in that type of friendship? We
I
wouldn't.
mean,
So push people
well,
away.
right.
Hmm.
And one of the things I was thinking about too, real quick before we move on, was the two things that I really liked, and I actually still feel like part of it is watching Vanessa grow up.
Mm.
But she's quick with those comebacks, big time. And so, she's not. I don't know. She's gonna have to adjust to that lifestyle because if her dad doesn't do it, I'm probably going to. Because
Right. I'm
it's
just
not,
getting her ready for the world because people are going to cap on her there. Might as well just learn some caps now.
And so it's good for her though, because it exposes her to what she's probably not going to be prepared for if she didn't.
No, it's funny. Jordan Peterson said that. He said you shouldn't be nicer to your kids than the world is. Because they're going to get a false sense of security if you are. So that's good.
And then the thing too that I like on your end is the whiteboard. And the reason, because at first I was like, well, that's kind of mapped out already for the kid, but it is, because what if they have no idea of what they want to do? Now let's say they don't follow through.
Half of them don't
with the whiteboard. Let's say they don't follow through with it. It goes out the door. But at least they had something that said, hey, my dad had a layout for me. I could decide if I want to do that or I could do what I want.
Right. Even if they screw up the whole thing, they could at least look back on their life and say, hey, I remember my dad had grand plans for me. I didn't fulfill them, but he believed in me and he had it mapped out. I just didn't do it.
Yeah, and we all know that planning, part of planning, even in like I'm not even getting to the whole military thing, but talking through a plan is also training. We often think of running through a scenario as physically moving through the scenario. This is how we do it. This is what we do. But just talking about it, the chances of success just magnify by just talking about the plan. So just the fact that my kid's here for the first time, hey, this is why you should go to college. Hey, this is the kind of career you should pick. Hey, this is how you change a tire. Just hearing it, when they actually see it, it won't be new to them. At the very least, have a foundation of what they understand.
But also the positive side of that, as I think is huge, is you're an involved parent who cares about their future. Regardless if they take the path that you're showing them or their own, they can't look back and say, I made a bad decision because my dad didn't invest any time into my life.
Hey, I'll be honest too. It's also part selfishness on my part. It's selfishness. I see so many of my friends' parents sit back and wonder where they went wrong, and they cry themselves, and they feel so upset, and they ask stuff they did right, if they did wrong, could they have done better? And I tell my wife all the time, I'm not going to have those worries. I'm going to be comfortable, even if my kids screw up their life. I will never question: did I put enough effort? Did I talk to them enough? Did I show them enough attention? I know I did. You can't fix the world for them, but at the same time, I'm not gonna leave it to chance. I'm not gonna damn myself when I'm old.
Right, and I agree. And I tell myself this, and I tell people this all the time. My relationship with my dad growing up, and still to this day, if I hang out with him at all, it's work. That's it. He taught me how to work. That was how we spent time together. That's how we communicated. I didn't get to go, fishing with my dad. I didn't get to go hang out and throw a softball around, with my dad. It was, I'm going to come pick you up at this time if he showed up. And then we went to work. I got to make a stop real quick. And that stop turned into 8 hours, 10-hour day. But I had a hammer in my hand. I had some kind of tool. And this is where it goes back to a trade. If he wouldn't have taught me those things, something as simple as reading and tape measure, I don't know what I would be doing. I probably fall into that category of not knowing any of that willingly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
trying to look at the positive in that, regardless of how I might have felt at that time.
yeah. So you feel like, I mean, obviously, you don't feel like you got enough out of him.
I think you're talking more about the present parent versus the active parent.
Yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
but he wasn't there either.
And then on the
He
flip
wasn't
side,
present either.
my mom was active, you
Your
know,
mom was active?
and she still is. I mean, she still kicked my butt if I just the little thing, you know. But
Yeah.
still today, it's her thing is, I want you to go to college. I want you to have a career. But if you don't, I want you to be successful in something.
Right. Yeah, doing something you love and making money, making your way in the world. That's exactly it.
So I think in a way, like my dad said, I'd rather have you know a little bit of everything than nothing at all. And my mom said, I'd rather have you have a plan than fail coming into the world not expecting anything.
Speaking about your parents, you were going to speak about how your parenting styling is different than what you and your wife were raised with.
Yeah.
So how is it? How did that go? I mean, how do you?
Or how are you going to do it differently?
So
or do you know?
And what,
what
do you want to change? I mean,
so one of the things I do is I spend a lot of time with my daughter, and so does my wife. I don't think we really did a lot of fun stuff growing up from my side, and on her side, same thing. So what we do is we take her to the park. We spend time out there. If I'm working on the truck or the car, she wants to be with me, and when mom's out there, I teach her stuff too. So we're involving her, but we're also doing things that we never really did growing up to show her that it's not all about work. We can just spend time,
just hang
get
out.
that experience.
You're giving her what you didn't get. It's beautiful. Yeah. And you're home.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now at one point you were working and you have your hours and then you have your home time, your family time. And
that's the thing too, is it consumed my life.
Yeah, well, I mean, but there's going to be a balance. Sure, some people are going to be out of balance. Some people are going to be completely in balance or way off the other way. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to be home all the time, then that's your situation. If you have to work, you work regular hours, and you're going to have your family time every day, regardless, because you don't work 24/7. And then you have your days off, and you make it count on those days. That's what I do. But definitely you're giving her something that you didn't get because your dad wasn't even home. He was just, I'm going to come visit or I'm going to come pick you up if I do come pick you up. And that just the fact that you being there is going to be huge for her. Imagine if you weren't there at all. There was nobody working on the truck. Mm-hmm. And it was just her and your wife.
And when she gets
that
older,
that would be her life. That was your life.
Yeah, well, definitely. And that's why I try to change that too, because as she gets older, like I do with my wife, I want them to learn at least the minimal basics on their vehicle. So when I call or they call me for help and say, "Oh, this is going on, but I don't know what it is," that kind of doesn't help me. But if they have an idea, or even better, know how to fix it, it's a huge difference, because it's stuff that they can, say, "Hey, my husband taught me this, or my dad taught me this growing up, and I was able to do it." But if I struggled, I can call him.
Is my mic working?
Yeah,
yours is. Yeah.
And it's just that time we get to spend.
What's that?
I was saying that, like with my wife and daughter, I teach them stuff that I can.
Yeah.
And if it came down to it as they get older, I don't know what's going on, then that's fine. I'll come figure it out. But a lot of times, if you just teach the basics, you're not only teaching them something, you're spending time with them. As a matter of fact, the other day, I learned how to paint my nails.
Right.
And that would never happen in a million years.
Yeah, you let her do it. It's harmless. You're letting go of your masculinity and becoming.
But she had fun with it though.
But she had fun with it. Yeah, my kid painted my nails the other day too. It's fun. It's fun. It's not permanent. So what are you guys doing to? So that's what you're doing. You're spending more time. That's your way of changing up the parenting that you got. Spending more time, being around more, and teaching her things. Obviously, that's awesome. Let me get into what I was going to talk about, being the parent you needed. Oh man, well, I mean, we all have our history of parents. Chano, you had both parents. Anthony, you did not. I did not. And my mom was loving and she provided for us. She did everything that she could. But we started out in the hood. We were just in an apartment, and it was just me, my brother, and my sister, and we made it happen. Bologna sandwiches, mayonnaise sandwiches, peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. Ramen.
You get plenty of bread.
Apparently, yeah. Lots of sandwiches. Whether you had something to put between two slices or not, that's where we were.
Another bread.
What's that?
You ever had a bread sandwich? Another slice of bread.
That's what we did, man. We were poor. We didn't have much, but my mom worked, and she continued to work, and she went to school, and she did her thing. She was tough and driven to succeed, and she made it happen. All through divorce, and she was super young too. She wasn't an older mom by any means. My dad was he was gone when I was an infant, so I never had him in the home. My brother did for a couple of years because he was older than me. And the way I saw my dad was through holidays and through day trips. So he'd come pick us up, take us to the arcade, something along those lines. One time he took us to Great America, the amusement park, and we stayed in a really nice hotel, like a suite. And he paid some money for that. And that was a cool trip. I remember it. It was great. But those were the things I did with my dad. And one week I went to stay with him when I was in high school. I went to stay with him at his apartment in Fresno, and that was interesting. And so that's all I know of my dad. I never had any deep conversations with my dad. I've never had any kind of what do you want to do, or what have you done? What's happened in your life? Nothing like that. And those are the things that I wanted. I wanted to talk to my dad about those things, but he was never around to do that. So I just went about my way and became my own man on my own. My older brother was the person that I looked up to, that was my role model, but my brother didn't have a role model. His role model was his friends, or were his friends. And so we wound up getting into bad things because we had no guidance. We had no whiteboard. We had no Chano, no nothing like that. We just had us in the 80s and 90s. And
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds terrible.
But I had a great childhood. I mean, I didn't. The thing is like, for you looking on the outside looking in, you're like, man, that you're lacking, or you didn't get some things that I got. But the other part of it is that I don't know. I think that my dad was just a pretty selfish man. and he never really gave us the time that he should have. And
I just
Yeah.
yeah, I think, and I know he's a selfish man because he told me as much, and so I can just take it from his own words, obviously if you want to be around, then you're going to be around, and if you're not going to be around, if you don't want to be around, then you're not around. And it's really easy to abandon your kids when somebody else is taking care of them, and that they're taken care of. That's the way it seems to me. It's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And if you never wanted to have kids in the first place, which is something that my father told me to my face, then why would I already know where you're coming from. You never wanted me, and so that is what it is, and I just told him, thanks for your honesty. And this was right about the time I was picking him up from the hospital, because no one he knows would ever take care of him. And I took him home. I took him home from a 3-way bypass, and took him in, fed him, bathed him, cared for him like he never cared for me.
Really?
And yeah, I did all those things, and I did it in the name of God. I did it because I knew that that's what God wanted me to do. And I did it in an act of like forgiveness and selflessness, and just like, I'm putting all my baggage aside right now, and I'm going to go ahead and care for my dad, because I know my reward will be in heaven. And even though my dad is who he is, it doesn't mean that I don't love him, and it doesn't mean that I don't care for him in some way. But I will tell you that it'd be the last time I do that. It was one-time thing, and it was weird and difficult, but I did it, and I wanted to do it, despite what he told me.
Damn, that would have been rough, and like I sit here, I say that sounds terrible, because like, I'm not sure. I know all of us didn't grow up. None of us grew up privileged. And we can sit here all day and talk back and forth about who grew up the poorest. But I have 13 brothers and sisters. We lived in a 3-bedroom house with my grandma living with us. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that life. I had my own room.
No, I didn't. I still don't have my own room. Okay. I know. So, so anyways, we grew up in this household of 13 brothers and sisters. My mom and dad, my grandmother stayed with us. It was a 3-bedroom. I slept in the kitchen. It was just like, we were poor.
You slept in the kitchen?
I slept in the kitchen. Yeah, we put a bed in there. But the one thing that I will say is, like, I've never not had both my parents. And I still have them. There's a mother-in-law quarters behind my house. That's where mom and dad are. My mom and dad were both immigrants. They got their citizenship just a few years ago. It cost me quite a bit of money, well spent money. And anyways, one thing I will say, my parents never worked towards a retirement. They work in the fields. There's no retirement for a field worker. But I'm fortunate enough where I'm in a position where I pretty much retired my parents. They live here. They don't have to pay any bills. They don't have to buy their own food. They don't have to buy anything. They don't have to pay for anything. They just live their life, and life costs what it costs, and they have no idea what it costs. And I am so fortunate I'm able to do that for them. And I'm only able to do that for them because of the life they provided for us. Because even though we were poor, having both parents in the house was just such a huge blessing. I mean, I never had to wonder, I never had to feel unwanted. A lot of people have told me that when they have new parents, their question is always like, why? Why was I not enough? Why did someone not want me? How would someone walk out? I couldn't imagine doing that to my kids. My grandma and dad were there every day, and I saw how rough life was.
Mute your mic, Anthony.
I've seen how rough life was for them, but they were there day in, day out, and I could not imagine giving my kids any less than that. Any less. And so when I hear your story, and it's like you said, your mother worked. I think you said she was a nurse, right? And I mean, that's just great, especially as a single mother providing for you like that. That's amazing. I think I didn't know I grew up poor until God, I was probably in high school. I realized, maybe even after high school, because I remember I went to the field work with my parents one time, and I hated it. I hated working in the field. Hated it. My mom asked me, "Do you like working here?" I'm like, "No." Then you better start going to school, because at the time I didn't want to go to school. So, yeah, you don't want to go to school? Fine, let's go to the field with me. I went to the field.
Ooh, learning lesson.
It was the worst. Let me tell you, they couldn't
Oh,
afford
yeah.
Whiteboard, so that was like what they did.
It's gotta be backbreaking.
yeah. So how do you think that affects you, like not having your father in the home, and now you're a father? How do you think that affects you when it comes to your children?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And I'm all over the place. I'm a mixed bag. I'm a father in training, and like you said, the time just goes, and you feel like I'm running out of time. My oldest is 10, and it's like, oh man, 8 more years, and she's an adult. It's just like, wow, and I'm kind of like the friend. I'm kind of like the friend dad. But I also have backbone though. So I feel like the friend moniker is kind of like the spineless dad, that just wants to like joke around all the time, but like doesn't discipline either. But I joke around, but I discipline too. So I don't know if I'm like the friend and foe. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
that's a little bit of me too.
Yeah, I mean, my kids know. My kids know I'm a jokester, and they have their sense of humor partially from me, and that's how they understand their joking around and stuff. But with other things, I think that they've been able to be brought up the way that I am, just joking around. But when I'm serious, and they know it, and they listen to me, and they respect me. There's never any back talk, and there's never any really like, I'm not gonna do that, or I'm gonna defy you. Maybe my little one, she's a firecracker. She kind of fights back a little bit, but I mean, my kids they're pretty good kids. When the way I approach raising them from where I came from is obviously didn't have a dad, so I feel like I overcompensate in being around and doing all the little dad things because I didn't have that. And so I'm just like going overboard. And maybe that's where you could say I spoil them or something like that. I don't know. Or that I'm the friend dad in that sense, because I didn't get any of those things. I didn't get the discipline part, and I didn't get the fun part, other than, like I said, the day trips. Those were fun. No doubt. And my dad, he saved his money and he spent the money on us to do that. But I would have much rather and he did take us for thrifties and stuff like that. But that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted as a kid. I didn't know what I wanted. I just wanted him to be around. I wanted to be able to talk to him. I wanted to be able to share my life with him. And I wanted to be able to learn from him. But
I just can't imagine that, like as a child wanting that. I just can't.
Yeah, and you just can't. Or you get the call, your mom says, your dad called. He said he's coming to get you guys tomorrow, and he's gonna take you XYZ and pack your bags. And so, me and my brother, we're excited, man. I'm like, I don't know, I'm 5, 6. I'm like probably my littlest one's age. And I pack my bags. I get my bag together. My brother gets his bag together. We're standing in the driveway. And Dad never comes. And that happened multiple times. And that's a real heartbreaker. Real heartbreaker.
You ever seen that scene in Fresh Prince? In Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith and his dad?
Yeah, Uncle Phil.
No,
his dad.
Oh, you've seen it, right, Justin? Where his dad comes into town, they're going to go away for the summer, and
I think Uncle Phil kind of roughs him up or something, right? Because the dad comes in as like the hero, but he's a deadbeat.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember the scene.
He kind of warned him about his dad too. And so it fits in perfect because he told him, he says he's going to show up and he's going to kind of play the part and then randomly split. And he's like, no, my dad's
the one thing he says in there, he says, Will's not a coat that you could put away when you could put in the closet when you don't need him. You know,
I remember that. Yeah, that was such a powerful scene.
That was such a power. Yeah, absolutely. No, you know what? It's funny. We talked about you were talking about how your dad would come around, and it got me thinking how you overcompensate. You know now, and my dad was a present dad. There every day. He was non-active dad whatsoever. Zero activity for my dad, but he was there every day, and I think actually that's a big driving force between me being a very active parent and and how you took care of your dad. I couldn't imagine taking care of someone who didn't look after me. I don't have that. I don't have that faith that you have. I don't follow the same path you do.
Yeah, and neither do I, bro. It's just I was practicing a Christian value,
and that's something I don't. That's something I don't get into. So it's not something I would have done. But however, like I said, my parents literally lived. We have a whole other structure. They live here, 2-bedroom, kitchen, everything for them, and that I do that for them because they did everything they possibly could for me without ever thinking about. At least in my eyes, I don't have all the paperwork. At least in my eyes, they never prepared for the future. They couldn't afford to prepare for the future. So I'm just glad
they're living day to day,
and they're comfortable, and they don't have to worry about that no more. But I could never do that for someone who would do that to me. I'm just not that forgiving. I'm not that person.
That's the word, is forgiveness. Yeah, you have to bring yourself to the forgiveness, and the only way right, the only way you can do it is to understand that you've been forgiven for being such a dirtbag. And if you can understand that,
amazing.
then you can understand forgiving your dad. And that's what I did.
Well, that's good for you. I'm happy for you.
Whenever you guys can, I did take some notes.
You took
if you guys wanted to run on those, yeah.
Okay. What do you got? Shoot them.
So I looked at a bunch of statistics, and it says a couple of them stuck out that we talked about. Putting effort. Putting effort isn't just putting in effort. It's putting in more than you've experienced. That's for one of them. Okay. And so I think for, you and I, Justin, not so much Sean, unless you feel like that's in your area. But I feel like you and I have put probably more effort than we've experienced.
Well, I think that's whole present versus active thing. My dad was present, but just not.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he is in that area too. Mm-hmm.
You're in that area too, but on our end, I feel like we do put more than we've experienced because we've experienced less.
Yeah, we experienced nothing.
Yeah, and then
crazy. I just can't imagine it. I just can't.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know.
It's so unnatural to me. It's unnatural not to see your children every day.
And the weird thing is, dude, like even right now in this moment on live stream, it's like I'm realizing, okay, I was a boy then. I had no means to, get to my dad or any of that. He had the means to get to me. Now, as I got older, I had the means to get to him. We had the means to, have a relationship as adults, but that still didn't happen. Now, I could blame it on two things for the adult part. I mean, I could blame it on myself. I could have went out and sought my dad and started a relationship with him, but I couldn't do that. And the reason why I couldn't do that is because, I don't want to say that. Just the trajectory of my life as a Christian from age 17 and on, I began to carve people out of my life because that's what I was told to do. And so I, got rid of all my friends. I got rid of all my, anybody that wasn't Christian, basically anybody that wasn't getting down like I was. I had to be separate and be sanctified from them. And while I still understand and respect that principle I only respect it to a certain point, because there's also people that you have to reach. and there's also people that you have to be around. And also a father and son is something that's beyond, just a secular relationship. So, but me and my dad were two different people. When I became an adult, I was a full like man of God preaching in the church, nowhere near perfect, although I thought I was, to a certain point. And I think that drove a wedge between me and my dad as well, because one of the things that I noticed my dad would play favorites with me and my brother. My brother is 3 years older than me, but he just gravitated towards my brother more, and my brother hates him more than I do. So it's funny because my brother was 3 years older than me. He experienced my dad in the home
Well,
because
maybe that's why then.
he was actually there. Now, I mean, he was 1, 2, and 3 years old, so who knows what he remembered and took away from that. But he has some inkling of a childhood with my dad, and I think that's why he's even more angry, because he knows like what he lost more than me. I never knew what I lost because I never had it. I
What
was an
could have
infant.
been.
I was in the hospital when he left. And so what the differences between me and my bro were drastic. My brother became a secular rocker, and his band was awesome. He did a great job. He's a lead guitarist. And I became a Christian rapper and went out and did my thing, and felt like my music was good in its own right. And my dad, I think he went to like one show, maybe two shows that I had. My dad went to like, I don't know, seemed like all my brother's shows, and knew all their songs, their lyrics, could quote them. Could he do any of that for my music, my projects, my stuff? No.
Well, I
He
mean,
just
in
he
his
just
defense,
did.
Christian.
Exactly. He didn't like it. He didn't like what I did. He didn't like what I believed. He didn't like who I was, and maybe he thought my song sucked too. I don't know. But
It
all
reminds me of the lyrics.
all I
think
know is
God,
that he gave more time and he gave more attention to my brother than he did to me. And I think it was the religion thing was a big part, obviously. And my dad doesn't listen to rap too, so I could give him that credit, because my dad did not grow up with rap music. He's a rocker dude. So I could understand why he would gravitate to that kind of music as well. But you don't tell your kids that. And even though I'm a grown man now, you still don't say, start quoting the other sibling's song in front of the other kid, and no, you don't know a damn word of any of your other kids' songs. It's just it means something to me. It doesn't mean something to him. May not mean anything to you, but it meant something to me. It was like, you don't even give a crap about me. You don't know anything about me, but you made all this effort to know about this other son that really doesn't like you. And I actually like you still, despite all the things that you did. And so now I'm just ranting, but I'm just going off on how my dad was and how he is.
Right.
And
what you said
and the
earlier,
way, and now I want nothing to do with him, and it's a sad situation, but I really don't
So I
care.
wanted to ask a question really quick. There was some.
Now I'm just getting mad.
Yeah.
Now I'm just getting mad.
Go
It's
ahead.
all right.
Go ahead. Ask your question.
There's some statistics I looked up, and they said they were recent. So I'm curious on you guys' thoughts on the percentages. So one of them says that the parenting practices, parenting with at least one child under 18, 50% so one parent is more of the authority figure, and the other one's more of the gentle parent. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I think that's true. Just because, I said that with Nicole and I for a long time. I let her take over all the disciplinary actions. We went to therapy. We fixed
I'm gonna
that.
turn my AC on real quick. Go for it.
So we went to therapy. We fixed that. Nowadays, I am more the disciplinary parent. Nicole is more the nurturing, well, more taking care of your day to day. But yeah, I can see why one parent is more disciplinary than the other, and also at different times in their life. Like a boy is probably going to be disciplined different by their mother when he is a young boy, when he's 3, 4, 5, 6. But as he grows into being a teenager, he needs that dad to step in and be the disciplinary. It's a different level.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. The same thing too. Um, one of the other things that popped up was 26% of parents spend more time focusing on the child's identity.
I don't know about that one. I mean,
That's a
I'm
low
curious.
number.
I'm curious to know what he means by the identity. Like, what do they mean by that? Because I focus
I
a lot
think
on Austin right now. Austin probably has my primary focus as far because he's so close to becoming a young adult that I need to make sure he's on the right path. But I don't know if it's his identity. I don't know what that means really.
from what I took from it, and that's probably way off, and that's fine. But they focus on raising their child on to be who they think they are, or trying to get them to understand who they are. Not necessarily telling them, but allowing them to find themselves. And maybe only 26% of parents try to get that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. What else you
I mean,
got?
18% of parents are permissive.
Or what? Promiscuous?
So, no,
Let's hope
permissive.
not.
Only 18%. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know
more
what?
than that.
That's younger parents.
Would
Parents
you say
who
permissive?
yeah,
Yeah.
like almost dismissive. It's like it's I always quote Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson talks about how a parent who has a child in their 20s versus the parent who has a child in their 30s is a very different parent. And you can have a parent of two different kids who's a very different parent because your parenting style when you're 20 is a lot more dismissive. You feel like you're still a child. You still want to hang out. You're still going out. And your child can be left in the room. Hey, go away. Go to your room, play in your room, and I'm down here with the adults and we're talking. Now that's a parent who they're young 20s. Now that child's gonna go up to their room for better for worse. They're going to learn how to self-entertain, and that's very good quality later on in life. Versus the parent who, you have your first child in your mid 30s. Those parents are kind of locked in that child. You know what I mean? They're all about that child. Their life revolves around that child. And I mean, it's just what's good. There's good and bad for both cases. But allowing a child to find his own way, I believe, as long in a safe environment, I believe it is probably the better way to go.
All right. I'm glad we fleshed that out. All right,
Yeah.
let's bring it home. I got one more thing to say,
Okay.
and then we're wrapping it up here.
Okay.
So we know our parents they've had good qualities in parenting, and they've had bad qualities in parenting, just like we have. And so we have our shortcomings and we have our strengths, and we need to recognize our shortcomings and try to work on those and build on our strengths as well, and just celebrate those things and lean on those things. And as we talk about parenting, being active, I think it's huge to take an active role in your child's life, whether and it really all starts with the night before. What I do with my kids in parenting is another thing that I did in taking an active role was I started like a preparatory list at night to make the morning go better, because the mornings were pretty crazy at the house and I leave really early. And so my wife was left to kind of get to work and get all the kids ready to go. And so we just started preparing the night before. It's something really simple. And some people would probably say, oh, well, like you weren't already doing that. No, we weren't. And so, the morning was looking rough. So it's just really simple things that you can do in your own family life that will help you have a more productive day and a less stressful day, less stressful start to your day. And nobody wants that. And so you can do that for your kids as well, because what I was seeing was, there's yelling going on, there's tension, and why aren't you ready, and why, all these things going on because the morning's crazy. But so I, as a father, I stepped in. I say, hey, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make sure all our stuff's charged the night before. I went out and got all chargers, a charging station, got all the things all together. We're gonna go through your homework. We're gonna go through your homework. We're gonna go through your folder when you get home to make sure you don't have any important papers that you need to turn in. You've done all your homework. All these things that were being missed, and these were things that were on me and on my wife. And so we made a conscious decision to make that change. We started making lunches at night and laying out clothes the night before. Just really simple things that you think, oh, I'll just do that in the morning. And then, the minutes turn into hours, and next thing you know, you're late and everybody's yelling at each other. So I know that goes on in lots of households. And so, fix it. You can fix it. Make a, plan. If you don't, what is it, Chano? If you don't plan,
yes. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
That's right. And so we planned, we were planning to fail every night, every morning, by not preparing the night before. And so we planned it out, and now our mornings go much better. Our children are, much more, their mental health is better in the morning, because they're not like they just got yelled at, for not having their shoes on
Right.
time, and little things like that. But we all do that. And another thing is yelling. Like, I'm not a yeller, but I will raise my voice, and I've tried to be conscious of that in the tones and the volumes that I use with my children. Now with my wife, different story. I'll just yell it right in her face. I was kidding. I'm kidding. You guys are too serious.
She can take you.
She probably could.
No.
No, she can't take me. So yeah, but I just don't. I try not to yell at my kids. I try not to raise my voice to my kids, because I don't really feel like that's how you're going to be talked to in real life. And of course, yeah, we can talk to them like that because they're our kids, but you can't talk to somebody like that out in the street or out at work, because then you're going to be called out for it, because now you're not talking to them as an equal, which I get. Our kids are like our subordinates, our children. We're the father. They're supposed to listen to us. But I don't know. I just watch my tone so that I don't come at them in a weird way and make them feel like I'm always disappointed in them, or I'm always just coming down on them, So that was an action that I took to be a better parent. And that definitely helped in like so many different areas of life, just the one little fix. And so I'm encouraging you out there, and we're encouraging you to be even a better parent than you already are. And if you know that you suck as a parent, well, then if you're listening to this was for you. You can get it right today, and you can start by being a more active role in your child's life by just conversating with them, talking with them, making sure their needs are met, emotional needs are met. How are things at school? How's your homework? How's your, let's look at your work. Let's look at how are you understanding these things, relationship things, teaching them how to socialize, and teaching them all those things. You can do that. Don't stare at your phone all night. That's the thing that we're doing as Americans. We're just scrolling and we're looking at our phone, and our kids are maybe looking at their phone too, or their iPad. And that's family life, is like everybody kind of separated, all looking at screens. And we had the screen discussion before, but basically just don't make the screen your master, right? Don't let the screen take place of your family time, for God's sake. We're just talking about how life is precious and time is precious, and you don't get much of it. And how many hours are we spending on a device when we could have took some of that time to pour into our kids or just hang out with our kids for the night. Those are things that I'm guilty of, and so I'm sitting here saying, those are things that I can correct and that I have made a conscious decision to correct, because you're gonna blink and your kid's gonna be 17 and they're not gonna want to talk to you. They're not gonna want to hang out with you because you had 8 years of iPhone family nights. So don't let time pass you by. Don't let time pass you by, because the Bible says life is like a vapor. It rises up and then it falls away.
Yeah. And one thing I was learning real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
What's that?
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll go with my final thoughts after you.
My final thought real quick is one thing I've learned, even especially tonight, is we set the tone as parents and we set the atmosphere. And that can change an entire day or an entire week based on how we decide to react or respond to a situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can be those tones and yelling at your kids and stuff. I mean, it's like PTSD at some point. It depends on it depends on how much you're doing it, how you're doing it, and everything. But I mean, my God, being yelled at in your own home is that's a pretty terrible way to live.
For my final thoughts, I would say you get active. If you know you're not an active parent, just start. You don't have to go full whiteboard meeting. I mean, that was a slow crawl into what we're at now. I would say start out by asking your kid how was your day, and listen. Just practice active listening and being just active listening, just responding to questions, ask deeper into their day, ask them what they're learning at school. You would be surprised to find out how excited your child is to tell you about their day. Their favorite person in the whole wide world, just ask them how their day is. They're going to want to tell you.
Yeah, you're literally their hero, and you don't really have to do much to be there.
It's like when I
just have to be there. What's that?
It's like when I asked Justin about his day. He's so excited.
You know it, baby. I think we're all done. We wrapped it up. This is good. We covered it. There was one other thing I was going to say. Oh yeah, mentoring. Mentoring is very important. Now we're talking about our own children, and we barely have time for them, but there are other kids out there. There are other young men out there that need guidance, need some wisdom, need some life lessons, life hacks, whatever it is. And that's what we're here for. So and any adult men, it's important to mentor somebody, whether it is your child or it's somebody else, because people need help out there. And I think if you're somebody that has a lot of things lined up, you got all your ducks in a row, why not help somebody else and reach out to them? I mentored a lot of kids as a youth pastor and as a Christian rapper. For a lot of young kids looked up to me, and so I was able to speak into their lives and speak positive things and speak Jesus and God into their lives and tell them to, turn from where they're at or keep going for God. And that was important. And at any stage in your life and at whatever level of success that you're at, you can help somebody else and speak into somebody else's life and be that mentor that you needed when you were a kid. And so that's our last challenge, call to action. We just wanted to thank you for coming onto the show.
Next
Conversation
week,
Nation. What's up?
Oh, next week, the audience, come with some conversation. Bring us some questions. Let's have some activity, some back and forth next week. Invite your friends.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you have questions or you have a comment, you can definitely leave it there, and we will respond. All right. So from the West Coast
To the East Coast,
from California
to Georgia.
this is Anthony.
Conversation Nation.
That's right. All right.
That's it.
Okay.
All right,
Good night,
man.
guys.
All
All
right.
right. Love you, dudes. I'll
You
see you
too.
guys later. I really love you, Chano, because I know you're comfortable saying it. I'll see you guys later.